Nobody's business is so complex that this can't be done. This is the big picture. Morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here this morning with Kylie Chown from Kylie Chown Consulting, LinkedIn specialist. Going to talk to you about how do we get some real value out of LinkedIn at a time where that's one of our only places to go. So, Kylie, do you want to give a bit of an introduction and a rundown on who you are and how you help people get some wins on LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much. Firstly, thanks so much for having me, Marty. And I think now's a really great time for people to be looking at how they can use LinkedIn. So a bit of a background on myself is I've been working with businesses, business development people, coaches and consultants over the last 10 years, helping them to use LinkedIn to grow their business. And essentially over, the last couple of weeks, we've definitely seen an increase in that space.
So everybody's at home now. Not everybody. There's still a few industries that are kicking along, but there's a lot of people trying to do what they did in a face-to-face environment now on LinkedIn. Is that just creating too much of a crowded space? Is it really hard to get? What are you, as somebody who's spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, what are you seeing there at the moment? What are you feeling is happening there at the moment?
Yeah, great question. So I have seen a definite increase in people being on LinkedIn and their activity on LinkedIn, which I think is a good thing. You've got that digital platform to be able to connect and engage with your audience. But I think sometimes people are just jumping on without any plan or thinking around what they're doing.
How do people, and as somebody who specializes in planning, I very much all for the idea of having a plan before you just jump the gun.
Yeah.
I am also, though, the person who jumps the gun and does random things. So, hey, you can't be too critical there. What are some of the things if let's take two scenarios here. Let's say that I haven't spent a lot of time on LinkedIn and I'm thinking that, okay, now I have to get involved in LinkedIn and stuff.
Yeah.
What are some 101s that I need to be doing? And then we'll come back and talk about maybe somebody who's more advanced, spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, what they could be doing. But firstly, that person who hasn't been on LinkedIn that now has to get involved with it, what can they do?
Yeah, awesome. So I think if you've not been involved with LinkedIn at all and you're really looking to start out, I think the first step is just looking at your profile and making sure it's really accurate of your business now and the service deliverings that you offer.
Yep.
So making sure that your profile's up to date, and that might include things like if you are able to deliver online, having that content in your profile. And then I think it's about having a plan. So once you've got the profile, what is it you actually want to be using LinkedIn for? So, if you're an accountant, you might be looking to use, and you've not used LinkedIn much before, maybe you've just, popped a profile up, or someone in your office put a profile up for you, and you've gone, okay, now I'm working from home. What am I actually going to do? First of all, check that the profile is accurate. And then secondly, just determine, what your objectives are. So again, if you're an accountant, you might go, okay, my objective right now is just really to educate and add a whole lot of value to my network, and position myself as someone who can support them and educate them and become an expert in their field. So I think 2 points. I think if you're really new, just making sure that profile's up to date and accurate, and then also before you do anything is just identifying, okay, what is it you actually want to be doing here?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because the example that you gave is what I seemed, and from my own experience, what seems to have been when your business principles don't change, right? Who are your customers? How do you add value to them? What are the things that you would try and add value and communicate to them? And you're just doing it on an online platform rather than
then offline. And I think too, it's adding the value around the content. And I think it's I think when this all started, people were posting things, hey, we're working at home and we can do Zoom. I'm like, that's all great, but now I think we've moved a bit beyond that. How are you going to help me get from here now to where I'm going down the track and into the future?
Which can be a little bit more difficult having, as somebody, you and I both have a home office, I know, and we can both deliver theoretically services from home. But we were talking before, it is slightly different. It's not business as usual. It is different to be able to do it online, even as just the delivery of it from a service provider point of view. So from my side of things, I feel like being open and honest about that is obviously a key as well, to just try and work in with that as best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And making adjustments as well. And like you're saying, we were talking before, and I don't think that you can go, okay, I'm training face to face and now I'm just going to do run exactly the same online, you're not going to have the same experience for your audience.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. You and I are both sitting in our, our home areas. I've seen a lot of popularity around the filters, and I guess that's pop with the backgrounds and stuff. But I'm a big believer in, if you're at home, don't try and hide that you're at home. And especially hats off and massive kudos to the parents who are there at home with little kids trying to work around. They're the real superheroes at the moment, because that must be an absolute mammoth task. So kudos to you, and well done for that. But come back now, tell me about somebody who's been on LinkedIn and active for a while. They've got their profile up to date. They understand the mechanics of it and what they're doing. How do they, with the increased traffic, how do they set themselves apart at this point in time? What are the sort of things that they're looking to do to try and stand out from the crowd so far? Not only the people that they were already competing against, but now all of the newcomers who are going, oh, now I've got to get onto LinkedIn.
Be online. Yeah, so good comment about increased traffic. So last week there was an article in CBNC, and they said that traffic across social platforms, so across all social platforms, increased by 22% in just 1 week. So you're absolutely right. A lot more eyeballs and a lot more activity. It also said, so this was interesting, it also said that I'm a bit of a data geek, but it also said that 60% of those people expected over a longer term that would continue to increase from their personal perspective, right? So absolutely correct in increase of visibility, et cetera. I think if you're already established on LinkedIn, the benefit there for you is that you've established those networks and connections, right? So if you're starting out on LinkedIn and you haven't really established your networks and connections, that's okay. There's different things that you can do. It's not an issue. But I think if you've already got that, that's a good thing for you. But I think it's about being considerate to those connections as well. So, for example, I've definitely seen an increase in the amount of messages I'm getting through LinkedIn. At what I would call kind of spammy and salesy messages. We don't want to be doing that at all. But I think we can definitely look at, if you're established on LinkedIn and you've got those connections and you've got those relationships, how can you nurture them? Do you know what I mean? So how can you use LinkedIn to have conversations with them? So for example, if I was going to a monthly networking event, for example, and I'm not doing that anymore, I could still be finding those people on LinkedIn. I could still be having conversations with them. I can be engaging with their content. I can be adding value to them. I can be sharing my content that I think would be helpful to them as well. So I think if you're established on LinkedIn, yes, you still need to update your profile. Potentially you would need to change it. So, as an example, I seen a profile of a trainer the other day, and she had a banner with her delivering training. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get why you've got that, but delivering face-to-face training is not necessarily part of what you can offer at the moment. So then it was like, okay, so even though she was established on LinkedIn, we had to change the banner, we had to change the content in her profile, but then she could really look at leveraging her network and her connections to have conversations as well. And I think even, it's, if you're established on LinkedIn, I still think it's one of those things that you aim to get out what you put in. And it's not about, going and being really pushy, but I think you could go, okay, well, how else can I contribute to my network? If you've worked with people over the last 6 months and just say you're in a situation where you can't work with them anymore, you could go and leave them a LinkedIn recommendation. You could go and, be really positive in other ways as well.
Yeah, interesting. I love what you said about, me just being me. One of the things that we always, take bits and pieces. The piece that I've taken out of that is, if you're established on LinkedIn, it's not so much about building new connections, but doubling down on where you already have connections. So if you were going to you've been running the LinkedIn locals, for example, or I go to a Valley Chamber event, if there's 7 or 10 people that I knew I would run into at a Valley Chamber event and say hi to, reach out to those people and say hi, and really build down on nurturing those contacts and connections that you already have, rather than chasing new ones and looking from that side of things. So
absolutely. And I think even if those people aren't in a position to engage with you right now, I still think they'll, and I was saying to you before, I think whatever happens, I think this is good. this has got to end at some point. What it goes back to, I don't like, no one knows, right? But I think this has to go back to a more normal situation at some point. And I think when we're in that situation, how people have acted now, whether it be online or offline, is going to contribute to whether people engage with them moving forward. Like with the accountant situation, like I had a lady and she was like, oh, I rang my accountant and he was really dismissive, and she was saying like she wasn't really happy, and she messaged him on LinkedIn and he didn't respond. And she was saying to me, like, once this is done, I'm going to find someone else, because someone who has, she's seen sharing content, adding value, reaching out to their network. So you might not see the results of that like today or tomorrow, but I think you'll see them down the track.
Yeah, fully agree. I think the big opportunity, the enormous opportunity that I see as professional, especially as somebody in the professional services space, now is the time where you build or destroy your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
You have an opportunity to be the person who was there and provided value and took a phone call and did those things, or you're the person who is MIA, and depending on what you do is where you go. So LinkedIn still gives you a great opportunity to do that. So I very highly encourage everybody to get involved with that. Kylie, if somebody's scratching their head, this is obviously an area of expertise that you specialize in, and I know that you have some really affordable solutions for people that provide a ton of value for them. How does somebody get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, awesome. So I'm on LinkedIn. That's a bit of a surprise, right? But you can find me there. So if you find me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request, and maybe just say that you you listened to the recording, or you had our discussion. And we can have a chat that way. And then even, like I said, I'm posting a lot of content around what people can be doing with their social media at that time, and that's totally free. So that all goes through my profile as well.
Awesome. Kylie, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat, sharing a bit of value with people. I know that there is tons of it out into the world, and I hope that this gives somebody a bit of insight as to what they can do. And if anybody is out there that needs help with their LinkedIn profile, I can personally vouch for Kylie. She's helped me with a lot of my stuff and does a fantastic job. So Kylie, thank you very much. If you can hit us with one parting advice for somebody who's going to jump on LinkedIn, what is it?
Yeah, you're going to like this one. I think they need to have a plan. I just think you have to have a plan and know what it is you're doing. Like, have a plan. And it doesn't, and it's, I said this the other day, and I know I was only supposed to say one thing, but we've got to be responsive and flexible, but we also need to have a plan and a purpose around what we're doing. So I think have an intention with what you're doing and have a plan around what you're doing. And then everything will build out of that.
Too easy. Love it. Absolutely love it. Kylie, thank you so much. Viewers, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Wish you all the best with it, and hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, Marty. Thanks for having me.
No troubles at all.